Hello, this is National Chess Master Rats. I'm here at chess.com. I've got a thread going with members' best games of chess, and this one was submitted. It's certainly a pretty ferocious attack that White unloaded. Okay, let's have a look. Very peculiar move, serves no purpose. Thing to do for White is just take the pawn, and if he takes, Black takes on d5. He's lost a tempo. And then his queen gets tempoed again. So make Black show what he's got in mind here. Play aggressive. Okay, but this is fine. Just about any move is good for White. Okay, now they just continue their development, but Black decides he's not going to develop pieces, and he's just going to get himself in all kinds of hot water here while White continues his development. And what's this? G5. You're just asking for it. Black's just asking for a bad game. His queen's developed, and it's blocking his bishop, which had a good diagonal. White's got 3 minor pieces developed. Black's a pawn ahead, but he's not going to survive this, and he still stops from developing. Okay, so White just continues with his development, and Black develops a piece, which is good, and White takes it back and takes his pawn back, and Black makes a threat, and White covers that. And then Black looks at this and says, hey, I can win a pawn. And he did, but he's doing it at the cost of development. The queen's out, nothing else is, and his king side is extremely weak. White is now threatening a very deadly queen h5 check, but Black's just asking for it. Now he gets some counter plays on the g2 pawn. Maybe White should stop and check first, but I'll let White analyze that out. What White does is fine. There's so many good plans at White's disposal here. One is to provoke more pawn weaknesses, play bishop a4. This forces Black to play b5, and then White gets another tempo on that queen before he gets his bishop to safety. All these things are coming up. White just got too good of a game here, but castling is perfectly logical. Really, there's nothing Black can do here. Now he gets to develop over to the side of the board. Okay, well, let's see that knight. What does that knight do for White or for Black? And now the queen's under attack. Now look, it's gone back to where it was on the second move. And anyway, lost my mic. Someone's at the door. I got to tell them to go away. I'm making videos now. I can't come to the door. Sorry. Okay. So anyway, that happens every now and then. Okay. So the Black queen has gone back to where it was. White's castled. He's got his queen rook in play. Black's got virtually nothing developed. The check now might be met with queen f7, and Black could be happy to trade queens to keep from getting mated. Okay, so queen f3. And both sides now play peculiar moves. Okay, Black has been needing to get developed forever, and instead he takes his one developed piece and makes a horrible move. And what White does is okay. White can pretty much play anything he wants, but White's just dead winning here. He doesn't find the simple move. Go ahead and try and solve it yourself. White to play him, do the best he can. Pause the video. Okay, you've resumed. You should have found rook takes c7. It's just a one move threat. It's easy to see. I saw it, and I was trying to figure out why didn't White play this. What does Black do? He's in some serious trouble here. He already was in serious trouble, but he's even in more so. And this queen h5 check is looming in the wings. Where's Black put his queen? He's got d8. He's got d8, and he's got b5, and neither one looks inviting. Let's keep him close to the queen. Let's keep the queen close to the king. But then suddenly this check comes, and what are you going to do? You're going to lose right now. There's only one legal move, right? Let's move the king, and it falls into maiden 1. So putting the queen close to the king doesn't work. Well, this is still coming. Check. Now the king's displaced. I mean, White just has so many good moves at his disposal. It's What's white want to do? White could play queen f7 and threatening to do some damage on f8. Could double rooks. White can do just about anything he wants here. But anyway, he didn't take the pawn on c7. So I don't understand why. Maybe he'll post a comment why he didn't. But white can pretty much play anything here. Anyway, rook c3, and that gives black time to breathe a sigh of relief and cover his weakness on c7. But really, black doesn't have anything going. So anyway, white just goes on and on about his business. And now black takes away that check that white had possibilities of using. Also has a little threat. The threat is to come down here and excuse me, to take a trap the bishop, but white doesn't need to worry about that bishop. He's got too much of an attack going. And now the queen comes back, guarding the f6, I guess. But now black has one piece developed. Okay, his queen has been moving all around the place. He went to d7, to c6, to c3, back to c6, back to d7, and back to d8. Now his king can't castle, although black was several moves away from castling in any case. It's a good move. Centralize the queen. Now black tracks the bishop, and white finds a very good move here. You might want to try to solve this on your own. Pause the video. Okay, did you find knight takes b7? Because that's a nice move. The knight is immune because the light squared bishop on c8 is guarding e6, and white will have a mate in 2 if he takes it. So meanwhile, the black queen is under attack, so black's got to do something, so he attacks white's queen. And white just goes and attacks a rook. Now, white's got a bishop under attack, so what? He's got a queen and a rook under attack, and the enemy king's in the middle of the board. Black's going to be lucky if he doesn't get mated here real quick. Okay, so then white starts finding some good moves, check, and then now that the weakness on e6 is covered, white saves his knight with check. Okay, so then that white is doing so well, he doesn't need to trade queens here, so he doesn't. Just checks the black king. And, knight e8 check is a possibility, and it wins. Anything wins here. But this is fine, the way white did it. The black king gets to go for a walk. It's interesting what happens with this black king now, where he ends up in a few moves. Meanwhile, there's that white bishop on g3 that black is just not able to capture. He doesn't have time. And white goes and picks up this knight. Thank you very much. And if black takes the knight back, now I think white will find rook c7. So he grabs the bishop. And really, what's black got going here? If he takes, white can just let him take. If it comes down to it, just park the king on h1 and he's safe. And if rook takes h2, black is really far from doing any kind of damage because it's still white on the move. Some themes maybe with the rook from h2 to check and forcing the king over, swing the queen over with check, and the queen can check on h2 and h1, but I think the white king gets out of it. And plus it's white's to move, so nothing's going to happen here. So double check, got to move the king. And that may not have been necessary because black can give up the queen for 2 rooks, but he's still lost. Anyways, he decides to keep his king, and as I said, the black king goes for a walk, and white takes away some critical squares from, wait, let me try to explain that a little better. One wonders why white does this. Well, that's to get the queen to be able to check on c5, as you'll see that this is just pretty important here. Now, if anything, white's can win a rook, but he's got the king in mind, right? White can play rook takes c8, but he doesn't need to. Just keep checking the black king. As I said, he's really going for a stroll here, isn't he? And he comes out further, and white just decides to grab some material. And what's interesting is, in this position, black is threatening a mate in 2, but it's white's move. Rook takes c1, bishop d1 and rook takes. So White's now, if White's not careful, forgets about that. Oops, accidents can happen. But White just picks up the rook. And here it's up to the individual opponent. White has at least 4 mates in one. I myself would prefer to give mate with a pawn. You have a choice, h3 or f3. Either one of those is mate. Or you could bring the queen back to h3. That's mate. But there's nothing wrong with what White did. He guards the mate threat with his checkmate of his own. Okay? Now, nice game, White. Nice attack once it got going. There was, unfortunately missed that rook takes c7 a little earlier. There was one other thing I wanted to mention when this all took place. Let's see. When White did this, Black did have... Wait a minute. Black had one resource coming up in here. Instead of putting the queen back on d8, knight d5 was worth a look, because if anything, it attacks the white rook, and it preserves the idea of playing this. Now, White has good moves here. White's still better off by a long shot. White can still give the check on d6, probably afford to give up some material and win. And I invite White to analyze this on his own. What would he have done had Black played knight d5? And I think that's a good way to improve, because knight d5 does help the Black position a little bit. If White gets too carried away, Black will just win this exchange and then try to consolidate and maybe use his material advantage against him. So if White gets too carried away, he could find himself a whole rook down. Just to give you an example, let me burn a move for White. Let me just play a bad move. Let's see. How about king f1? That's a bad move. Okay. Now knight takes and rook takes, and then we kick this. Now we get this check in that we wanted to do, but suddenly that maybe that white bishop on g3 is going to lose, or is going to fall. And let's burn another move. Let's just take this. Okay, now what's White do? He's going to lose this bishop, right? And he's running out of attacking pieces. So let's centralize the queen, and at some point Black's going to take this. And now look, Black's a rook ahead. So I'm not saying White would allow this by any means, but all I'm saying is it puts more pressure on White to find good moves. And even if your game is bad, what you try to do is make the game as difficult as you possibly can for your opponent. Make him find the winning moves. You'd be surprised how many players can't find wins that are right in front of them. I know I've missed them in my tournament career, and I've had them missed against me. And the reason they were missed, it's not because it's partly because we just missed them, but it's also because our opponents played moves that made the wins that we had a little harder to see, because maybe we had our own little counter threats and so forth. But Black had some counterplay here, even if, just simply because his pawn was trapping that bishop. Black had a little bit. He needed to try for a little bit more. But I don't know what... was this an online game? How could it was an over-the-board game? How could some of these moves be missed? They were just so obvious. Maybe they're not always obvious. But anyway, great game, Herbie53. Thank you all for looking, and I'll talk to you again with another best game soon. Take care.